Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over Rose Namajunas' knockout over Weili, one of the best head kicks I've probably seen in a while, and we're going to go straight into the actual knockout and we'll work our way backwards to how it's set up. So the knockout itself was used as a step-in high kick, and the way she did this was she kind of bounced her foot in, then back out, and then when she put her foot back forwards again, as she stepped her right foot in, she flicked out her left hand as a distraction and then threw the left high kick over the top. So the difference between this and a switch kick is it's harder to read because there's less of a motion. So on a switch kick, although you might be able to get a bit more power into it, it's a bit easier to see the feet move, and a fighter would recognise this technique a little bit more, especially if they came from more of a Muay Thai background where switch kicks are more prevalent. However, this is more of a Taekwondo, or I guess traditional martial arts style way of coming in and stepping in instead. And you saw Bruce Lee do this a lot with the side kick, but you can see that Rose uses it here to step away inwards and get the high kick off in a different way, closing the distance very sneakily. Of course, the left hand popping out added an extra distraction. On top of this, Rose delayed the kick and kind of made it look like it was going low and then threw it high. So it wasn't a straight fast kick to the head, it was almost slightly delayed, maybe a millisecond, so that Weili thought it would go low, and hence why you see Weili kind of pull her leg back in an awkward manner, which kind of got her stuck in this position where she couldn't move her head out of the way of the kick. And it was amazing how much power Rose managed to get into this shot. Joe Whitman was talking about Rose's power and how she's one of the pound for pound hardest hitters out there. So she has a lot of deceptive power. She kept her leg chambered as she lifted it up so that the leg would flick out and there would be power left in it as it was delayed, and then there's a hip swivel, of course, that produced the power from the knee joint into the foot. So how Rose set this up was rather interesting. Before throwing this kick, she hadn't thrown any kicks. So before this, she was just moving around, a lot of lateral movement, a lot of bouncing around, which of course is what you would expect from Rose as a strategy against Weili, who probably wants to bulldoze her a little bit more. And therefore the punches of Rose set up that she might be going for more of a boxing style, and then the kick came as more of a surprise. So Weili might have not been expecting a high kick as the opening kick for Rose, and therefore wasn't really reading this as a strike that she would throw. Weili was doing a lot of inside low kicks herself to counter the punches, so she was quite ready for the punches of Rose and ready to counter this with the inside low kick, as she probably recognises that Rose's stance is quite a long stance, which means that her lead leg is a bit vulnerable. However, with the high kick, it was good because it was able to throw the kick over the top of this low kick, allowing for Rose to avoid the counter and also get off her own strike. Just before Rose landed this head kick, she stood still a little bit longer, so she wasn't completely static, but she wasn't moving as much laterally to the side, and this kind of caused for a statue effect where Weili kind of copied what Rose was doing, stood still in front of Rose, which allowed Rose to get off this head kick. So the movement of Rose meant that she was able to move around and then plant herself a little bit, get Weili to stand there in front of her just for a split second to be able to set up this high kick. So whenever someone is sparring and stuff, you can sometimes draw them into a certain type of fight, and one aspect was she was drawing her into more of a boxing style fight, and another aspect was she was drawing her into this movement that meant that Weili actually kind of followed this by staying still with Rose and allowed Rose to set up this high kick. Anyway, that's the breakdown. So it was a very short fight, there wasn't much really to analyse in this one, but with such a little time period. A lot did happen, and it was a very, very impressive performance by Rose. I would be interested to see a rematch between the two and see how it would go in a longer match. However, it was a very decisive win, and I look forward to seeing her fight again. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another video.